Welcome once again to The Sage. And as usual, thank you for being with us. You make our journey special. Thank you. This week, we're going to take a little break from the series we have been showing you in the past few weeks, in which we talk about living out our hope for a compassionate Nigeria. We're taking a little break because we want to fulfill a promise we made to you at the beginning of the year that we will keep you informed as we implement one of our biggest projects within Conversations for Change, the Global Entrepreneurship Fellowship Program. I know most of you are already familiar with this program. We've discussed it extensively, but all the same, for the sake of perhaps new viewers, let me remind you that the Global Entrepreneurship Fellowship Program is our effort to empower our young people, to help them to create jobs, to help them to become successful business owners themselves, successful, sustainable, resilient. And we have reported consistently and with a great deal of pride that this program is working, has been on for 7 years, and that in fact, we have turned out over 100 young people who have undergone this intensive training and support provision and who are running their own successful businesses. A few programs ago, we talked about it for 2025 and gave you an idea of our plans for 2025. But even before I go into that, let me remind you why it's important that we're doing what we do. The majority of people in this country are young people. And yet, in our beloved country, Nigeria, we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the world for young people. Our youth unemployment is so much. And yet things seem to be getting worse, not better. I was privy to a recent IMF spring meeting, their first meeting and perhaps biggest meeting of the year, in which they discussed many things. And one of them was indeed the issue of youth unemployment. And the projections were bleak. Many of the agencies and partners in that meeting projected that within the next decade, over perhaps 1 billion young people will be unemployed. Nigeria is a huge part of the statistics. The jobs are not there. The economy is suffering, is not improving, and therefore the future in terms of employment and jobs for our young people is bleak. There couldn't be a more important reason for programs such as this one that Conversations for Change does. With dedication and passion, we select young people who are passionate and serious about being entrepreneurs, and we help them to achieve their dreams. We provide them with the skills, the knowledge for managing businesses effectively, and we also do our bit in supporting and providing equipment so that they indeed run those businesses, start them, run them, expand them successfully. It's been quite a challenge, but it's also been a major source of happiness and joy to us. Because the program works, we have been able to demonstrate that. So yes, we're into the program and feel privileged to be able to do this for our country and for our young people. We ask partners out there to please join so that with more hands on deck, we can indeed make the much needed improvement of the lot of our young people in this country. And so having said that, having introduced the program, which is a 1-year-long fellowship program in which we give them detailed training on business management, all elements of it, but also support them with equipment, guide and supervise, turn them into a network, help them believe in themselves and indeed strive and work for their own success. And so this year's program has indeed begun. We mentioned the fact that we courageously started the program despite the fact that even at this time, we're not sure of the funding. But we've started. And in the previous episode in which we discussed, titled The Selection of New Participants, please do go to our YouTube and view that episode. It is there. We talked about what we planned for this year. And we have come back now, living up to our promise to keep you updated and informed, to tell you how far we have gone. Yes, it's been an intense 3 months. But we're happy to say that everything we hoped and planned for has so far been achieved. For those of you who saw the previous program, you will recall that we talked about the fact that in the planning that took place earlier this year, we had received candid feedback from some of our previous partners and participants that perhaps the quality of facilitation could be improved. It was a recommendation we took very seriously and decided in this year's program that we were indeed going to do something strong and proactive about it. We decided that we will again look at our facilitators and indeed our curriculum, and that we will strengthen it as per the recommendation to make it more real, to bring it home to the young entrepreneurs, to make it more useful for them and enable them to employ the principles more easily in their new businesses. Stay with us. We will describe in more detail how we accomplish this. Don't go away. See you. Welcome once again to the Sage. As you remember, before we took the break, we were going to share with you what we actually did to make sure that this time round we were going to give our new participants the best training ever. You see, the joy of training for several years is the privilege it gives you and the opportunity it gives you to learn from the previous ones you did. And even though we say with confidence that in the 7 years we've been doing this, and that this 7th set is perhaps going to have the best training of all, because we have learned from experience. A feedback we had promised to respond to was how to make the lectures, the topics that were being taught even more practical. And we brainstormed on that. And we decided on two things. The first was to look at the curriculum again. Make sure we updated with the current global and national needs and concepts. And that we did. And so there was an intense review of the curriculum. The next thing was, how do we make it more real, more practical? We had a brainwave. We thought, wow, probably it also needs to reflect not just professional knowledge of the content, but to use facilitators that have experiential knowledge of the content. And with those two things in mind, the choice was natural. We decided that probably the best fitted, suited facilitators needed to be fellows of the programs themselves. Fellows who have gone through the training and who had gone right ahead to use the concepts to run their businesses and were running their businesses successfully. It was a perfect fit. And so we set out and got volunteers from our alumni, our network of alumni. And it had to be volunteers because we needed them to be willing and committed to doing the work. Having selected a core group of alumni ready to be trained as trainers, we then went ahead to do a 2-day workshop for them, a training of trainers workshop. It was such an exciting 2 days. And I must admit, intense 2 days for me. Because what I needed here was to impart, having had the privilege, let me say that, having had the privilege myself of having been trained as a facilitator within my life in the UN, and having facilitated programs and meetings and conferences across the world, I knew it was time to dust out that heart, find the energy and strength I used to have in those days, and indeed train trainers. It was an exciting 2 days. The first day we spent, like I said, I dusted out my notes, I read up, not just the old notes, and called on my years and wealth of experience as a facilitator to teach them and demonstrate to them what it means to facilitate effectively. And not just to facilitate and lecture, but to be a team that work together to make sure that the training and workshop objectives were achieved maximally. Supporting each other in doing that, doing all the necessary preparatory work, delivering each lecture or topic to perfection, making sure it was real and practical, with examples taken from their own business experience and not just theoretical, and delivered in a way that was interactive and totally involved participants, recognizing that it was adult learning. All our fellows, all our intakes are adults running businesses and therefore applying adequate adult learning techniques. So sit back and listen to some of those lectures that I was privileged to give on that first day, to some of the instructions and materials and methodologies which we shared in training the trainers. spoken in many, many different conferences and fora across the world, but I have learned from experience. When you ask me to come to that conference or that meeting, the first question I ask you, who am I coming to speak to? The greatest mistake you will make is to go there, prepare your speech, and then get in there and find it is children you're talking to. They don't know what you're going to talk about. Or perhaps you go, finish preparing, and then go there and find you're talking to the team of facilitators, world global facilitators. Hey. Trust me, if you don't know your audience and find out, it will happen to you. I have done it many times across the world. I have learned the hard way. So no. Immediately I say, fine, I am willing to come to that conference or that meeting. Who am I talking to? I ask a lot of details. Are they women? What kind of background? What kind of education? You must find out all these things for you to indeed deliver an impactful presentation. Set clear objectives. Don't talk at random, anyhow. You introduce, then next thing you give a conclusion, and then you say, sorry, before you must be organized. Set your objectives. Have a proper methodology. And spend time on preparing your materials. You know, sometimes, how many of you have looked at TED Talkers? I admire the quality of what comes out. You see them talking to us, but the preparation that goes into that thing. You must engage your audience. For me, something that is a signal when I am talking, making a presentation, I'm looking at my audience. When I see somebody sleeping, I have misfired somewhere. Even one person is an indictment to me. And so that's why I say I don't sit, I move around. I'm doing my best to engage each and every one of you. I'm turning around. If Ebele looks at you sleep, I will come and I will stand. But these are all techniques. We learn all our own. The more we do it with time, you must engage your audience. Do your best. Eye-to-eye contact. Let me tell you another secret that comes from my own is that you also need to inspire yourself. Leave that person that is sleeping too much and move away. Look at Nkosi that is looking like me like this. That speaker also needs to be inspired. And it is that engaged audience that inspires you. If too many of the audience, because sometimes it's not your fault, it's our lunch, they've had a heavy lunch. Test your technology beforehand. When I came into this room, I said to my team, are my things set up? They said yes. I said, this person you're talking to, I do not believe till I see. Tell me, I have had many embarrassing experiences across the world. You see, we learned as a team of UN trainers. We learned the night before. I never go into a hall to deliver a lecture in a hall I haven't seen beforehand. You must go see it and see tell them where is my projector going to be. But ask everything. If you miss doing those things, you will be the one to be ashamed. When the halls will be full, you thought you were going to be looking at that curtain and you find they have suddenly placed you there. And technology is a wonderful thing, but technology is also a very dangerous thing. This projector that is working, I came in early in the morning, tested it, it's working, I go and come back. When my audience are sitting there and I'm talking, it refuses to work. Oh yes, it has happened to me many times. So my rule is I land in, no matter how late in the night I land in, where is the room where we're going to be holding the workshop or the conference, I go view it, understand where as the hotel technicians, where are you placing things? As a team of UN facilitators, this was standard. You do it, but first thing in the morning, before they arrive to be seated, you go do again, go check. Make sure that the things are working, the battery is working, and so on. Wow. And so after having done that training, the next day was employed in actually have them replicate the techniques which they had been taught. And so each trainer was given a topic which they had been asked to research on overnight and to come and deliver to the training to all of us, using the techniques they had been taught. Clarity, great PowerPoint presentations, examples, and group work that would energize, inform, and involve the participants. Please listen to some of them.
We have different types of funding. When you talk about funds, some people are, your thoughts go to maybe grants, like C4C. When we talk about funding, you are like, okay, personal loans. Some of us in applications, when they say, oh, how are you going to mobilize for funds? Some people say we'll use our personal savings and all that. Yes, that's all those ones are part of funding. But what I want to do this morning is, apart from teaching you types of funding, I want to show you the pros and cons of the different types of funding so that you now make a better decision on what type of funding you want for your business. So I'm mentioning about 5 types of funding here. We talk about equity, we talk about grants, we talk about bootstrapping, we talk about debt funding. There are different kinds of funding opportunities available. And these things are available, yeah. They are available. You might not get access to them because you lack the information. But if you go to the internet, you search, go to social media space, you search, you see some pop-ups that come up for these opportunities.
Business idea basically is the starting point for every entrepreneur. Like she has said, like when you have a concept that will generate funds or services that will also generate funds. Then we also have factors that determine the success or failure of a business idea. 1, your business, is it adding value? Then 2, that value that it's adding, are people willing to pay for it? Or that service that you're giving out, are people willing to pay for it? Then also, we also have the person, you that have that idea, are you personally driven, to like make sure that that idea is a success? I believe that every one of us here, we are here because we're entrepreneurs and we all have business ideas.
When you know your weaknesses, you can turn them to your strength. That's a good part of knowing these things. When you understand yourself, you understand this business I want to do. We came out, we have beautiful business ideas. If you have an idea, if you have a business idea and you've not written that thing, you've not started. Yes, you have this idea, you are thinking about this, thinking about that, but you have not put it down. You have not started. So the first thing for you to do when you have a business idea, carry your book and write it down. As a business owner, you and book, you are friends. Yes, you must always put down, and this you build on it.
I believe all of us entrepreneurs already have one business and one service, one good or services we sell. But without standards, we won't meet customer satisfaction. And if you don't meet customer satisfaction, you are not in business because they won't come back. It's a matter of time you die off. It's a matter of time the business will die off because there is no satisfaction. You are not meeting, we are not even sure if it's safe. If it doesn't meet a certain standards. We've heard international best practice, we've heard international standards, we've heard national standards, right? We've heard company standards, we've heard individual standards, right? So there are those parameters you set for yourself, as an individual, as a business, as a company,
It was, for me personally, such a fulfilling exercise. Within one day, so to say, our trainers had grasped the concepts. They were delivering their lectures with expertise, interactivity, poise, competence. Yes. The objectives of the 2-day training were amply achieved. We had a team of trainers. So we have delivered on the promise. You will see that in reality in the coming weeks, when we will also share with you the teaching and the training which these team of trainers led. Join us in the next episode where we continue this story. Thank you once again for always being with us, and thank you for sharing our journey, sharing our life, and sharing our excitement as we implement this really, really crucial program. See you next time.